Hello everyone and welcome on today's video. My name is Wouter Pere and I'm the founder and main developer of GHEtool Cloud. And in today's video we're going to take a closer look at how you can import borehole coordinates for your custom bore field into GHEtool Cloud. So that's why we start this video not with our typical PowerPoint, but we start directly into Autodesk AutoCAD. So perhaps as an engineering firm or drilling company, you draw your coordinates on a plan or even on a map when you're using ArcGIS software, etc. And your custom bore field can look something like this. So this is a very irregular configuration. And we want to export this configuration into a CSV file that we can later import into GHEtool Cloud. So how do you do that? Well, you start by typing data extraction. To open up the data extraction menu, there you can say, well, we want to create a new data extraction. You select next, example. So now we will create based on the objects in the current drawing, a data extraction. You press this button here to then select all the objects. So now I've selected 17 coordinates. I press enter and I can continue in my data extraction. So then I need to select what exactly I want to extract. Now in my case, I drew the bore field coordinates with an X cross, so that's the only information I need. The other things I do not need. I export it. And then I get a whole list of parameters that you can export. But we're basically only interested in the X, Y, and Z coordinates, which is in the geometry. So all the other information I do not even need. And I can deselect the scale object and just stick with the position objects. Now, this is important to note perhaps that the Z coordinate is not needed in this case because it's a 2D map. If, for example, your coordinates are drawn in 3D, you can export this position Z as well. But we're not going to do that. We just need the X and Y coordinates. I press next. And here we have all the data coordinates. So we have two extra columns here, the count column and the name column. We also do not need them. So I will deselect both of them. And then I have my list with all the coordinates. I press again next. And I will output the data in a CSV file. So I go again here, I type my name, which is already done. And I select my file type, which is a CSV. I save it, I press next, I finish. And now all my coordinates are exported to a CSV file. And just to show you, I've opened the CSV file in Excel. You can see here indeed the position X, position Y separated by a comma in this CSV file, and then all our coordinates. So let's now go ahead and import these coordinates into GHEtool Cloud. So here we are in GHEtool Cloud. I created a new project, and when I want to import my bore field coordinates, I go to the bore field tab. I go to a customized bore field configuration. And here I have the option to load or import my bore field. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I can import my example file. And it will ask me which column corresponds to the X coordinate and the Y coordinate. Now the X position is the same as the X coordinates and the Y is here the same. If you, for example, have your bore fields or you have a master plan with different bore fields, and you want to import them one by one, it's possible to add these coordinates on top of the other coordinates that are already in GHEtool. Or you can say, no, I want to override the existing borefield. So that's what I'm going to do now, and it will override the 0, 0 coordinates that are already in there. And here are all my coordinates. And this is the configuration I end up with, which is exactly the same as the one we have had in AutoCAD. Now it's important to note that GHEtool will actually calculate with this configuration. So it will not be converted to sort of a regular configuration. No, we use a scientific method that allows us to actually use the positions of the borehole exactly. So you can really calculate your exact situation very precisely. Now you can do more. So now we've imported the X and Y coordinates. You can also have each borehole having a different borehole depth or bury depth, and as we discussed earlier, you can also have inclined boreholes. So another thing which is important is if you do not have, for example, an AutoCAD file, we have here a template button. If you press that, you will receive an empty, or not an empty, there are 2 coordinates in there, but you receive a template where you can type in your own coordinates if you think that's easier in your case. Now, a last thing I wanted to mention about this custom borefield option in GHEtool. If you, for example, say, well, I have a more or less rectangular borefield, but this borehole, yeah, I cannot drill. So what you can do then is you do not need to go to AutoCAD and create all the coordinates there. You can simply click on this coordinate, say that you want to convert it into a manual borefield. Then you have all the coordinates again, and you can just click on the borefield and say, well, I want to delete this one. And this is how you can easily create also custom borefields for yourself. You can click on them, you can duplicate this borehole and, for example, set it to 25. And this way you can, without even using AutoCAD, create custom borefields really easily, which you can then use to calculate your projects. So I hope this video was clear for you, and you can start creating your own custom borefields with AutoCAD, with Revit, within GHEtool Cloud. If you think this video is interesting, please consider subscribing, sharing this with your colleagues, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.